What percentage of our population is black? In some areas, it's 3, 5, 7%. Others, it's 13% nationwide. I think the nationwide black, I'm not talking about Hawaiians or Polynesians or people like Kamala Harris, who's not black. I'm talking about real African American heritage black people. So why are we talking so much about voter suppression?
What? We're talking about black people, blacks. So we're not talking about those Polynesians or those Hawaiians. I don't think anyone's ever confused Polynesians or Hawaiians or black people, but okay, sure. We're talking about black people. That guy, as I mentioned off the top there, his name is Randy Bishop. He's running for the Michigan State Senate as a Democrat. This is really crazy. But first of all, a little bit of information on why he's not a Democrat or what he actually is. He previously ran for office as a Republican. He's a former chair of the Antrim County Republican Party in Northern Michigan. And he's been active in spreading conspiracy theories and denying the 2020 election that Trump lost. So that'll always get you a good position in the Republican Party. But now he's running in the 37th district as a Democrat with those types of points. But those aren't his only points. He has other things to say about the LGBTQ community as well. Watch that.
See, one thing you got to understand, folks. Do you know only 1.5%, maybe I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, 2% of this population is LGBTQXYZ? 1 to 2% of our population is confused about their sexuality. They don't know what's between their legs. They think they're a woman, but they have something else between their legs. They're confused individuals. 1 to 2%. Why is the media and why are we constantly being bombarded with stuff about the LGBTQXYZ community?
You say it over and over and over again. The LGBTQXYZ ABC community, it doesn't do anything. It actually doesn't make your point any better. It makes you sound more ignorant and clueless on the entire subject. But still, why do we care about a smaller percentage of the population? This is only America. Why do we care about Americans? Why do we care about the minority groups in this country at all? Sounds like he's hearkening back to the way we used to do things, which we've kind of always done things, we just hit it better. But we're just taking the cover off of all this. I want to let you in on this point, Rayvana, because there's more after this. But the first thought on that, because he also says they're confused about their sexuality, and that's what's between their legs.
I mean, just so ignorant and so wrong on everything. I mean, 7% of the United States population self-identifies as LGBTQ. So he's wrong about it being 1%. But I mean, even if it was just 1%, it matters because of the the oppression that 1%. I mean, we know it's 7, but even if it was 1, the oppression that percent of the population experiences matters. It's horrible for them. It's systemic as well, and those sorts of issues matter regardless of how big that group is relative to the population. And I mean, he's also saying, at the beginning that black people only make up, 13% of the country, however many percent of the district he's running in, to try to, pretend that issues that black Americans experience aren't real or that we shouldn't care about them because it's not most of the country. So I mean, we're moving towards a world where the number of white people will be less than the number of non-white people, and I just wonder if he's going to bring that same energy then. That white issues don't matter once they're a minority in this world.
No, but that's the thought process. The worry is it's actually a confirmation of how systemic oppression happens in the country. They're like, we've been in control this whole time. We don't want to talk about how oppression works and how our systems have actually helped implement and carry that out. So if we end up in the minority somehow, that's one of the big fears of these white nationalists is if we're in the minority, we're gonna get treated the way we treated minorities. And that's just the way things go because human nature is to absolutely oppress anyone that's not in power or isn't the majority demographic in the country. That's the thought process.
Now, as a strong Christian woman who values faith deeply, I never want anything I say to offend someone's religion. One of my staffers on his first day with me got into an elevator, and in that elevator we were joined by Ilhan Omar. Well, it was just us 3 in there, and I looked over and I said, well, look at there, it's the Jihad Squad. Yeah. So I told her that. Even after I put out a public statement to that effect, she said that she still wanted a public apology because what I had done wasn't good enough. So I reiterated to her what I had just said. She kept asking for a public apology. So I told Ilhan Omar that she should make a public apology to the American people for her anti-American, anti-Semitic, anti-police rhetoric.
This is just another example of white supremacists pretending to be the victim when they perpetrate real acts of racism or violence against individuals. In this case, Lauren Boebert was saying incredibly racist and Islamophobic things about Ilhan Omar in very public settings. And mind you, look at the environment. Look at the environment that she's sitting in. Look at the chandeliers. She's in a pretty bougie room, and you can bet that there's a lot of rich individuals in the United States of America that are incredibly racist and have deeply held racist beliefs. Because this is one mythology that people need to understand. There's this myth that racism is only common among poor people. But the truth is, the Republican Party's base is incredibly rich and incredibly racist. They are absolutely the vile human beings who think that they can get away saying hateful, bigoted things against elected officials and not face any consequences whatsoever. And then when they get called out of it, they're so entitled, they feel like they deserve an apology.
She continued to press, and I continued to press back. And then Representative Omar hung up on me. Rejecting an apology and hanging up on someone is part of cancel culture 101 and a pillar of the Democrat Party.
That is who is in that room with Lauren Boebert. These are people who are millionaires LARPing as cowboys. Every time you see an instance of systemic white supremacist violence, you see these popular mythologies where white people pretend to be the victims while turning around and committing atrocities and acts of violence.
Is part of cancel culture 101.
Just like the pilgrims that came to the United States pretended that they were being threatened by indigenous folks to justify their genocide campaign across the country, so too do white supremacists today claim that their acts of violence are really self-defense. It is a tale as old as time when it comes to white supremacy.